Ever get that feeling? Like they're two sides of you battling it out.
Battling it out.
Yeah, like one part of you wants to be wild and free, but there's this other part, always telling you to fit in, follow the rules.
I see. Yeah, like this inner conflict.
Exactly. And that's actually what we're diving into today. Robert Anton Wilson's concept of the domesticated primate. It's all about how our animal instincts clash with the demands of, well, being human in a modern society.
It's a fascinating idea. Wilson basically argues that no matter how civilized we think we are, we're all still driven by those primal urges.
Right. We might wear suits and use smartphones, but underneath it all, we're still animals.
Absolutely. We've got those basic instincts for survival, reproduction, belonging to a group, just like any other primate out there in the wild.
And so how did that play out in our lives? I mean, are we just these wild animals trying to pretend to be civilized?
Well, not exactly. Wilson's point is that society itself acts as a kind of, you could say, domesticating force.
Domesticating? Like how we domesticated dogs and cats?
In a way, yes. Through rules, education, all these expectations, society tries to tame those primal instincts, channel them in a way that allows us to live together.
Okay, that makes sense. So we need some level of domestication to create order and prevent chaos. But what's the downside to all of this?
Well, Wilson argues that it can come at a price. You see, when we suppress those natural urges too much, we might start to lose touch with our true selves.
So it's like we're trading our freedom for security.
You could see it that way, and this can manifest in so many ways, like we might feel unfulfilled even if we achieve material success, or we might censor ourselves, hold back our true thoughts and feelings because we're afraid of judgment.
Wow, that's so relatable. I think we've all been there at some point, feeling like we have to put on a mask to fit in.
It's a common experience, and, it can stifle our creativity and our individuality. It can make it hard to think for ourselves, to challenge the way things are.
Because we're so focused on following the rules.
Right. We become so domesticated that we lose the ability to question, to innovate, to truly express ourselves. And this even plays out, Wilson says, on a larger social and political level.
How so?
Well, think about tribalism. It's a classic example of our primate nature. We have this deep-seated need to belong, to identify with a group, and you see it everywhere. Political parties, sports fans, even those online communities dedicated to, I don't know, collecting stamps or something.
Yeah, it's like those modern tribes, and they can get pretty intense sometimes.
Exactly. And just like in the animal kingdom, these groups develop hierarchies, power structures. It can lead to conflict, to an us versus them mentality, which, can be pretty dangerous.
So it's like our domesticated primate nature is both a blessing and a curse.
In a way, yes. We need some level of domestication to function as a society, but we also need to be aware of its limitations. And Wilson believed we can actually transcend these limitations.
Transcend, like break free from that domesticated state.
Exactly. He was a big advocate for self-awareness, really understanding those primal urges and how they shape our behavior. He believed that once we become conscious of those patterns, we have more freedom to choose.
So it's not about erasing those instincts, it's about being mindful of them.
Precisely. Practices like mindfulness, critical thinking, even exploring alternative states of consciousness, like through meditation or certain, spiritual practices. Wilson saw those as tools to help us break free from those automatic, pre-programmed responses.
So basically, we can become more aware of our programming and then choose how we want to respond.
Yes. And that's the key. It's about becoming more conscious, more deliberate in our actions. It's about evolving beyond that domesticated primate.
Wow, that's pretty powerful stuff. It kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? Like if we could all become more aware of our primal programming, could we create a better world, a more creative, compassionate, and maybe even a more peaceful world?
It's a fascinating question to ponder. And I think Wilson would argue that it all starts with each of us, with becoming more aware of our own inner primate.
And with that, I think we'll wrap up this deep dive. But I'll leave you with that question to consider. What would the world look like if we could all shed a bit of that domesticated primate programming? It's something to think about.